Well, in this week's episode of What the Lehecka, this might look a little bit different than what we normally do. I wanted to give you a little bit of a close-up look at our studio, our newsroom, and even though a lot of closures because of school shutdowns, I wanted to give you a virtual tour of what it looks like to produce a newscast every day. So this is the newsroom where all of our anchors sit, our producers, reporters, and editors. And this is where all of the news comes together. So there's a lot of different moving parts here in and every day of how a newscast gets produced and becomes on air. So a lot of times you don't see the newsroom, but this is where all of the action happens before we head into the studio. So while all of the people are typically here on the weekend, it is a little bit less crowded, a little bit more quiet. And so the studio, that's where all the action happens. Let's go there and take a look at what we see every day. So now we're in this studio, and what a lot of people don't realize is what's behind us is actually not what you see on TV. It's just a big green screen, but what you see is our weather graphics that are being put in by the computer to anything that is green. So if I were to wear green, I would just become a talking head and some floating hands. But what happens is anything that's green actually shows our graphics, but since I can't see behind me, I have to look to the monitors to my right and to my left or in front of me to know what I'm pointing at and to point in the right location. So whenever we're going through this, we're actually looking at a monitor to the side of us and not at the green screen behind us. And it is a little bit challenging sometimes. It can confuse you at first, but then you get used to it and you're a little bit more of a pro just after a few times. So every day, this is where our newscast happens. We have the cameras that are operated, we have our weather center, we have the anchor desk, and this is where all the action happens. So each day, an anchor might come in. Now, typically we have 2 anchors, but with social distancing, we've just been having 1, and then we have a reporter sometimes, we have sports, and also a meteorologist here. So this studio does get to be pretty busy, but there's also a lot of different angles that these cameras can do in order to make this studio look a lot bigger than it actually is. So we just have 3 big monitors here and then the weather center behind us, and that's how we do all these different shots to make everything look a lot different than how it actually is on TV. So this is where everything really comes together. If we did not have directors, we would not be able to get on TV. And this is how all the shots come together, how one reporter goes to the next, how one story comes to an end, how they go to weather. And this is where everything comes together to see what you see on TV. So here we have the director's booth, and they're just able to press all these different buttons based on which camera shot that they want to take. And so they have feeds of different locations all across the country. They have weather graphics that they can take. They have different live reporters that they can go to. So it's really a matter of them controlling everything in the time that the producers have set up, but also to know if something has gone wrong, if there's a typo, then they need to be able to change things pretty quickly. So they have to work on the fly, and they have to be pretty fast as well. So the director is the one who is kind of the magic behind the scenes, who makes sure everything, this is the last bit before you can make sure everything is correct on air. And so they're the ones who put it all together. So hope you enjoyed this tour of Wavy TV 10 between the newsroom, the studio, the director's booth. This is how everything comes together, and I hope it was a little bit educational for you as well. If you have any questions or weather questions or anything I can help you learn while you are off school, make sure to send them my way on Facebook or Twitter, and maybe we'll answer them for you on next week's episode of What the Lehecka.